Good evening and welcome to For the Record. The 2016 Certified Practicing Accountants Congress ended in the Coral Coast 2 days ago. The event attracted some of the brightest business minds from Fiji and abroad. Tonight, we bring you contributions from two key speakers at the Congress. The following are excerpts from Minister for Economy Aya Sayed Kayum and motivational speaker Tony Christensen from New Zealand.
Since we last met, we've had the most devastating cyclone ever that hit Fiji. 44 Fijians lost their lives, which is the highest death toll ever from a natural disaster. We had over $1.4 billion US dollars worth of losses as estimated by the post-disaster assessment team, which consisted of the World Bank, DFAT from Australia, the European Union and various other agencies. Since then, of course, we've had something like 226 schools that were damaged, some of them partially, some of them completely, some of them somewhat superficially, but nonetheless, all of them need repairs. Since then, of course, we've had our fiscal year change in Fiji. As you know, our fiscal year for government used to be the calendar year, but now it's from August, 1st of August till 31 July. Since then, of course, we've had the new budget that has been announced for the beginning of the 1st of August. And we've had the biggest rebuild program. We have, in fact, over $205 million that have been allocated, which is a large sum of money, which has contributed to 4.7% budget deficit for the rebuild program. 135 million of that goes towards rebuilding the schools that have been damaged. The rest of it will be for rehabilitation of crops, rehabilitation of various other processes, farming implements, and in fact building of health centers, building of other facilities like civil servants' quarters out in the rural areas. All of that combined, we have a spend of $205 million. That is a huge ask. In particular, when it's on the back of an already very robust construction industry, where there's huge demands placed on construction companies, on tradespeople, on skilled tradespeople, and that is a huge challenge for all of us. We have the AFL rebuild, we have the MOMI rebuild, if you like, or rehabilitation of MOMI, various other private sector investment projects that was already on foot. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this sort of era of rebuilding, there is also, and as even prior to the cyclone, perhaps more marked now, we need to be very vigilant about things like making sure we have a competitive environment, about ensuring that we have very good modern day practices and that we still adhere to international practices and that the professions actually do their job in the manner that they're supposed to. Because when you have a huge rebuild program, we can sometimes get out of kilter in respect of how do we deliver the services. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank all of you who actually participated by contributing to the budget consultations. As you remember last year when we were at the Sheraton, we did say that we will reach out to you, and in fact we sent out an email to all those of you who were below the age of 40. It's not age discrimination, but is basically a recognition of the fact that those people who are below the age of 40 in the profession were ones perhaps who weren't necessarily, partners in their law firms, etc. But we wanted to reach out to the younger population. In Fiji today, you may not realize this, but 69.6% of our total population is below the age of 40. That's a huge number, a huge percentage. It has various challenges, but also at the same time various opportunities that arise from having such a demographic situation. What that means is, perhaps it goes to your topic, that I think it is one of the Indian presidents, former Indian presidents, who said that the youth are always the fire belly of any nation. It's how you manage that fire belly is the trick. If you see various revolutions throughout the world, if you see various changes in any society, it's generally led by the youth. But also at the same time, if that energy, if that fire belly is harnessed properly, it can provide the greatest impetus to any society in terms of innovation, in terms of creation, in terms of new ideas. indeed in the ability to adapt to technology and indeed create technology, which is very, very critical. Ladies and gentlemen, what we also wanted to talk to you about today, just highlight to you, is that there are various incentives that we put in place, a whole plethora of incentives that were announced in the budget, including assistance to employers to be able to hire more people with 200% tax rebates that are being given if you hire new people, if you are able to also at the same time provide upskilling of your employees whilst they are working for you, for them to get further qualification. We also give further tax rebates on that. And the whole idea is to again harness that opportunity. We have said previously that Australia and New Zealand has been the beneficiary of many of the mines that have left Fiji, either in particular post-1987 and 2000. And there was a culture of that, to educate people, get the qualifications in Fiji, and then you go off to greener pastures. What we do need to do is try and arrest that situation, and in fact that has already started happening. We are seeing a number of people who are coming back to Fiji because of the fact, partially, because we have a legal framework now where we allow for multiple citizenships, for a person to be able to hold multiple citizenships. So many people still have a close affinity to Fiji. They still regard Fiji as home. Some have, of course, gone off to perhaps do better. But on the other hand, there are many people who believe that Fiji also is providing that economic opportunity for them, financial opportunity for them to do well. I'll tell you a very small story. A few months ago I was in Auckland and with my wife, and then we were staying in one of the apartments in Queen Street, and we went down to Coles to get some dinner, and I was walking past and this person said to me, "Hey, Bulla." And I turned around and saw him. He said, in fact, he used to work for Tropic Wood. I see a face there. He used to work for Tropic Wood, and he was a electrician. He said, "I've just been hired by a New Zealand firm, they're recruiting people." He said, "I get paid about $18 an hour." He said, "Even though I should be getting paid 24 because the local guys are getting paid 24, nonetheless, it's more than what I am getting back home. And I intend to be here for 3 years, work my butt off, and then go back home and open my new electrical store." He said, because there's a lot of opportunities, there's a shortage of electricians. And in fact, in Fiji at the moment, the electricians are being paid about $12 or $13 an hour. And nobody a few years ago would have even dreamed that electricians in Fiji would be getting $12 or $13 an hour. So there's a lot of changes within society that is taking place, a lot of changes taking place within the workplace, a lot of changes taking place in respect to the technical skill sets that are required. When we had the budget consultations, we also for the first time reached out to high school students. It was very important for us because both from a philosophical perspective and also from a very practical perspective. And there are a lot of submissions were made. And as you know that in Fiji, in the Toppers Scholarship, we have a huge focus on giving scholarships for people who do science subjects, who do non-legal accounting work. We have a shortage of, for example, speech therapists. We have a shortage of town planners, land surveyors, doctors, nurses, various other professions, marine scientists. So if you actually focus on those areas, and if you're in high school and you apply for one of those, those areas of study, you will get a scholarship from the 600 toppers. But one of the very strong submissions that did come out from the student consultations was there were still many people who still wanted to do, perhaps because of family pressure, or perhaps because it's quite trendy to be an accountant or an economist. So we have in fact increased the number of scholarships now available. It's gone from 600 to 630 to allow for more room for people to be able to do studies in the area of accounting, etc. I have to say, with the civil service reforms, one of the things that we have discovered also is the huge, and this is my plug for many of you who may want to leave your employers and come and work for government. We have a huge shortage of highly skilled sets in government civil service. To give you an example, in the Ministry of Economy, formerly Ministry of Finance, we have at the moment only 2 people with CA qualifications and we have only one person with CPA. Only one person with CPA in the whole of government, which is actually quite tragic when you think about it. So we want more of you to come across to the right side of life and to join us. And of course, as you know, that we are restructuring the civil service, which also means restructuring the salary structures, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, it does go to show that when you have a key partner in the economy, which is government, that is going to deliver services, that is going to interact with you, we need the right people to work also within government. And it is also a very critical need, similarly, that those people who do work in government get rewarded for performance. There has been a culture generally in Fiji, unfortunately across the board, and more so perhaps in government, that we do not necessarily recognize high performers. That advancements in the civil service have been made because of your number of years you've spent within the service, as opposed to somebody who may be extremely bright, who may have a big mind, and is able to think outside the box and is performing very well, to be able to go up the rung or skip a few rungs and to be able to take control of a particular department or indeed a particular ministry. And that is very, very critical. I think I'd like to also perhaps highlight very, very quickly that there are great opportunities in Fiji at the moment. And in fact, those great opportunities can be further enhanced if we are able to focus, given the theme of the topic, on rewarding people not based on mediocrity, but also on people who are, as I've said, high performers. We need to be able to recognize that. We need to be able to reward that, whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in the public sector. We need to be able to also at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, lift up the level of professionalism that exists in Fiji. Whether it is in the hotel industry as to how the waiter cleans the table or the waitress cleans the table, whether it is the person who may be providing accounting services or legal services, whether it's more disclosures, whether it's the level of interaction between accounting firms and legal firms, between engineering firms, how you deal with your clients. There is enormous opportunity to lift up the services. There is enormous opportunity, and we must do that in the way, for example, utility companies, FEA, Water Authority of Fiji, how we actually deal with our customers, how we deal with our clients. FEA, Water Authority of Fiji should not say, well, we are a monopolistic position. We are the only people who can supply water, so, bugger you, you have to wait for us. No, the service level must increase. The service level of FEA must increase. The service level of FRA in terms of, for example, giving approvals for approving development plans must increase. Everywhere there's room for improvement. Everywhere, it's in the slightest thing, is the example that I gave. Normally when you go by the roadside, people are selling boo or, the green coconut. And there are some people now who actually, when you go to buy the coconut, they actually take off the green husk around it. Some actually give you a straw. And they ask you, do you want an additional straw because somebody else is with you? This is value adding. This is also in terms of improving the level of service. So you're attracting also the tourists. In the same way, you may be carrying out your business the way you're dealing with your clients. There may be a need, apart from just the standard sending out of Christmas cards every year, which everybody does, in terms of how you communicate with them. Banks need to improve their quality of service. Insurance companies most certainly need to improve their quality of service. And that's obviously a discussion that we are having at the moment with the insurance companies, and there have been various forums held for that. So the message, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to be able to tap into the intellect that exists. We need to be at the same time be able to tap into the experiences that exist, individual and collectively also. Fiji is really on the cusp of an economic revolution, if you like. There are many areas that people are now investing in, thinking of investing in. We've had 7 years of sustained economic growth, notwithstanding the fact we had the largest cyclone that hit Fiji. Indeed, it's the second largest cyclone that ever hit any land in any part of the world. Notwithstanding all of this, we still have this wonderful trajectory that we can be on, and in fact, it can be even greatly enhanced if we all, as individual professional bodies, individual professions, are able to harness that energy, are able to tap into that, and also to think collectively. I mean, as was highlighted by the president of the Fijian branch of CPA, the Olympic gold medal win, I mean, if you see the euphoria and the enthusiasm and the collectiveness of the entire nation, the way it came together was phenomenal. But it also goes to show that Fiji can be very much bound by a one collective vision. And there's the ability to harness that energy. And if we all thought about it individually, whether it stems from the fact that when you're driving along and your kid throws the Twisties packet out the window, you can see so much rubbish. I mean, recently there was a PhD student at USP who's doing some background, who's doing her research here, and she's from the West Indies. And she said, you're a beautiful country, but you people really don't know how to look after your environment. It was actually quite telling. Very simple thing, but it's actually quite telling. And unfortunately, I think that stems from the fact that we take it for granted. That we think, we have the president of CPA Australia telling us what a beautiful country it is, and everybody wants to come to Fiji. We think, yeah, great. But the fact is, there is work involved in it. And that work is not much of a work if we all individually did our part, and collectively we'll have a wonderful result. So these are the very simple things that we can all do individually as professionals, and also in organizations, and also as a country. I think it is a wonderful thing that was always raised about social corporate responsibility. There's various global compacts that have been done by transnational companies. And one of the areas that we just yesterday talking to the new UN resident coordinator for the Office of the Human Rights Commission of the UN. And she made a very valid point, and we'd like to sort of discuss that further. Whether companies in Fiji have actually come together, not regulated, but from a social perspective, and said that these are the standards of behavior that we will have. These are the areas of focus that we will have in respect of perhaps carrying out the social responsibility. Because if any assistance by a non-governmental organization, I talk in the wider context of that, whether it's banks, etc., if that supplements and complements what the overall government policy is, then we will be able to achieve that objective a lot quicker. And I think it's that complementarity that is perhaps sometimes lacking in Fiji. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a wonderful time, as the Honourable Prime Minister said, to be in Fiji. It's a wonderful time to grab a hold of those opportunities. And if we're able to individually improve ourselves as individual citizens, as in our professions, in our organizations, and as a Fijian, then of course the opportunities we have is just boundless.
You see, I know many disabled people that are far worse off than I am. Yet in saying that, I know many able-bodied people are far more disabled than I'll ever be. Why? Because of their attitudes. Their attitudes to their lives, to their families, to their friends, to their customers, to their work. What are attitudes? I believe attitudes are habits of thought, the way we think about things. If our habits of thought are unenthusiastic with a lack of desire, it's reflected in our attitude. If our habits of thought are enthusiastic with a desire to succeed, accept the challenges that we face, that's reflected in our attitude. And I believe in my heart that it's our attitudes which determine our level of success in life. You see, we all want to be successful, don't we? I think I'll do that one again. Is there anybody here? We all want to be successful, don't we? Yes. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. It's the last day, remember. I know you've just had lunch. We all want to be successful, don't we? Yes. Great. Anybody in the room today that doesn't? Good, I was going to say you're probably in the wrong room. It's all about an attitude, really, isn't it? But what is success? For you to be successful in your life, what would it be? Just call it out, share it with me and the others in the room. What do you believe success is? Happiness? Health? It's going to be a long afternoon, guys. I can see that coming. I don't have to leave till 5. What, we got 350, 400 people in the room? And only 3 of us in the front row can tell me what they believe success is? Anyone else? Unbelievable, isn't it? Funny enough, I was told when I was asked to be here that I was going to be with a group of successful people. Where are they? It's a well-kept secret. Let me share something with you. One of the most important things that successful people do in their lives is they share. They share their stories. If you wanted to talk about financial success, which you're in, you could talk about someone like Bill Gates, Richard Branson. What is the one thing that they do? They write books and they speak and they share their stories to inspire others. And when I come here today to ask you to share with us, your clients want to deal with successful people, right? Your challenge is, how do you create that success? How do you share that success with your clients? And it's by sharing stories. That's how we learn. You see, success is something different to each and every one of us. To some it's health, wealth, security, respect, happiness. Being successful in my life is to achieve the goals that I set for myself. Is that something I want to share with you today? Is that I'm a goal setter. I'm a planner. In fact, how many other goal setters? How many fellow goal setters here today? How many set goals in your business and your personal lives? Excellent. A few hands, great. All right. Something else I want to share is I'm a dreamer. How many fellow dreamers? Well, there's a few more of them. Well, I tell you what, sitting up here, I see each and every one of you. I see each and every one of your faces. When I ask that question, you put your hand up, a lot of you, it's like this. Here's another one. Can you remember the first day you went to school, 5 years old? Can? Good. Well, I'm looking around. A lot of you probably can't. 5 years old. The teacher asks the class a question. Before they'd finished asking, what do we do? Stuck a hand up. Didn't know the answer. We didn't even know the bloody question. We're going, pick me, pick me. What changes in our lives for us to stop putting our hands up? Have we been told that we're wrong too many times? I read an article several years ago, and it said worldwide that the average 17-year-old had been told the words no or can't 148,000 times. You know, the challenge we face in life is that if we hear that enough times, we actually start to believe it. Or are we too busy worrying about what other people think of us? Oh, you're not one of those goal setters, are you? You don't want to be successful, are you? You don't want a planner, are you? I'm here today to tell you the successful people, and whatever they choose in life, are goal setters. They are planners. They have their goals, plans for today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, the next 5 or 10 years of their lives. Any of you seen blind soccer players? Blind soccer? You have? Unbelievable, isn't it? They get a ball. They get a ball, right? They fill it full of bells, and they throw it into the middle of the paddock, and off they go kicking it round. They have 2 different sounding horns at each end of the paddock, and they kick towards the sound of the horns. It's incredible to see. I was at the 1988 Paralympics in Seoul, Korea, and my friend Bruce was the coach of the New Zealand blind soccer team. I'd finished all of my events. Bruce said, look, Tony, I'm taking the guys to the park for a training session for their game tomorrow. Do you want to come? I said, yeah, that'd be great. So we're in the van, down to the park. He opened up the door, got the guys out, picked up the ball, threw it in the middle of the paddock, and off they went kicking it around. Amazing. I said to him, what do you do now? He said, oh, I just wait. I said, how long does it take? He said, oh, about half an hour. They don't even know I'm here. Well, like all good Kiwis, I spotted a bar across the road. I said, mate, we might as well go and sit in the bar. We were in there 10 minutes. Someone come running in and said, who's looking after those blind soccer players across the road? We said, well, we are. They said, you better go and get them. They've lost their ball. They're kicking the stuffing out of a Hare Krishna. Said ching, ching, ching. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's probably one of those you had to be there things, I suppose, really. At the age of 17 years old, my mum came to me and said, Tony, you've got to go and get a job. Now, we all know at 17 years old who wants to get a job. You see, I thought I didn't have any legs, wondered what I could do. Then I thought, hey, I don't have any legs. Nobody's going to blame me for not doing anything. You know, there was someone, and it was me. Because I did think, what could I do? My friends were out riding push bikes, climbing trees, doing all of the things that young people did. I spent a lot of time at home. So I started to do drawings and cartoons, graphic art, and then I started to do show cards and posters for local stores and supermarkets. It got to the point my friends were about earning $10 a week doing a paper round. I could earn like $50, $80, $100 a week doing these show cards and posters. So me being the bright young guy that I was, I thought I could make money at this. I want to be a sign painter. That's what I want to be, a sign painter. So I went around all of the sign painting companies in the city I live in. I said, hey guys, I can do this sign painting. How about a job? They looked at me and said, you don't have any legs. I thought that was pretty clever of them, really, wasn't it? No one's got past them. I said, yeah, but I can do this sign painting thing. How about a job? They said, well, you haven't got any legs, you can't climb ladders, you can't climb trestles, you can't drive the truck, so you're no good to us. My story is that I pestered one guy long enough. He gave me an opportunity. At the end of 3 months, he made me foreman. Right through to today, I owned that particular company for 13 years. Turned into one of the most successful sign painting companies in New Zealand. When I took it over, had a staff of 2, turned over less than $90,000 a year. I sold that particular company in December 1998 as a multi-million-dollar company. You see, for me, that's my measure of success, but believe me, success is a journey. It's something we strive and achieve every day of our lives. Look, if I had $1 for every time I was told I couldn't do something, probably be a billionaire today. I believe when we're born, we don't know can't, wouldn't, shouldn't, couldn't. Get real and don't waste your time. We're taught all of those things by other people. It's up to us to decide whether we believe that or not. In fact, my art teacher said to me once, Christensen, you're absolutely hopeless. You will never have anything to do with art in your life. I wished I could have employed her. Just so I could fire her. And one of the great things I enjoyed about sign painting, we'd be on scaffolding trestles just like this, 2, 3 times height of this. There'd be 3 of us up here. We'd be painting the front of a building, but only 2 pairs of legs hanging over the side. People go, how the heck do you do that? They used to ask them to climb down just so they could see I got back up again. Look, one of the challenges that I face in my life today, and that's a challenge I think we all face in one way or another, and that's people's perceptions. Other people's perceptions of who we are and what we believe. See, we're in a world where we judge people. We're in a world where we put people in boxes. Because I go, oh, you're one of those disabled people, so we'll stick you in a little box over there. How many get, oh, you're one of those CPA, you're one of those accountants, aren't you? So we'll stick you in a box over here. Hey? Some of you got staff, some are managers, some of you are on your own self. But we do, we put people in boxes rather than allow ourselves to go out, share our passions, our belief, simply be the best. This thing about people's perception. People come up to me and they go, how you doing, all right? I say, look, I haven't got any legs, I'm not deaf. That's people's perception. In fact, in my business life, I would go out to quote the sign painting of a 20-metre wall. I'd jump out of the back of my van into my chair, I'd go up to the client, the look on their face, oh, geez, he hasn't got any legs. I wonder if I should tell him. People's perception. And it's funny, I'll be wheeling down the road in my chair and some young kid will call out, hey, he's got no legs. And I'm looking around to see who they're talking about. Oh, it's me. Or the parents are going, shh, shh, don't, shh, shh. I'm thinking, like I don't already know. You see, that's people's perception. They have no idea of who I am, what I can achieve, yet we judge people. Motorsport's a great passion of mine. My good friend Ewan and I, we race an off-road racing truck together. This truck's four-wheel drive, 600 horsepower. It's capable of over 200 kilometres an hour. Ewan's the driver, I'm the co-driver navigator. We were leading the Woodhill 100 off-road race, which is one of New Zealand's premier off-road events. At over 190 kilometres an hour along the Muriwai beachfront, the truck hit a rut in the sand and it flipped end over end 3 times, finishing upside down. We'd ruptured the fuel tank, fuel and all pouring out of the back of the truck. I looked across at my friend Ewan and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay." I said, "This is not good, we better get out of here." Oh, something I've got to tell you about Ewan is that he has an artificial leg. So the joke is we've only got one good leg between the two of us. But no. The truck's upside down, the fuel's pouring out. Without even thinking about it, I undid my seatbelt and landed straight on my head. I think that's why I've got the squashed up fat neck now. But anyway, Ewan got his artificial leg jammed between the accelerator and the brake pedal. So I shuffled around in the sand. I undid his artificial leg for him. He put his hand on the roof, undid the belt, slid out of the truck. And he's hopping away on one leg, trying to keep his balance, leaning against the truck. I'm sitting in the sand, rubbing my neck. The story goes that another competitor saw the accident. He went back to the pit area, said to the officials, "You'd better get an ambulance down on the beachfront. There's a horrific accident down there." Now, they looked at him quite puzzled because we were going to be the first car through. He said, "No, I'm serious. One guy's got his leg cut off. The other guy's buried up to his waist in sand." Giving up for me was never an option. In fact, in my life, I will never ever give up at the things that I'm passionate about. You see, we're in a world where it's too easy to give up. We're in a world where people tell us what we can and can't do, rather than allow ourselves to believe in and simply be the best. So many people go through their lives saying, "I would have done that, I should have done that, and I could have done that." Every day I wake up and I say, "I am, I can, I will. I am the best that I can be. I can achieve, and I will be the best." And I can assure you that if you can say that to yourself every day, success will only follow. Because success comes to those who believe. I have the opportunity to travel around the world. Like many of us here, whenever you fly, we all fly business class, right? Hey, business class? What's the selling point of business class? Leg room. I tried to sublease. Get a whole family down in here, just sort of put them in the front. I was in the USA not that long ago. And I was in Washington, D.C., in fact. And I went to the Smithsonian Institute for Aviation. Aviation is a passion of mine. And I was with a group of friends, and as we went through the Smithsonian, we were about an hour early for our bus back to the hotel. A little bit of jet lag, beautifully manicured lawns, a couple of palm trees. I jumped out of my chair, I took my cap off, and I fell asleep. And do you know, I woke 3/4 of an hour later with $15 in my hat. I thought, only in America. I love this place. Everywhere I went after that, I'd just sort of fall out of my chair, take my hat off, I'd always get a couple of bucks. You see, that's people's perception. In fact, Jen and I, we were in Melbourne at the casino with a group of friends. They all went off to the bathroom, so I'm sitting outside waiting patiently again. Took my cap off, and a Japanese couple came up, put $10 in my hat. Well, I thought this was great. I wheeled up to them to give it back to them, and they started running away. Maybe they thought it wasn't enough money, I don't know. You see, that's people's perception. They see me in a wheelchair, they see me without legs, and they judge me. They have no idea what I can achieve, yet they judge me. And I believe that each and every one of you in this room in some way judge yourselves. So often, I can't do that. No matter how hard I try, I'd never be able to do that. You know? And if that's not good enough, that's just tough. If you tell yourself that enough times, you will start to believe it. You will be a woulda, shoulda, coulda, instead of an I am, I can, I will. And only you make that choice. You see, it's how you wake up in the day. It's looking at this world of opportunity, this world of potential that we have. And it's here for each and every one of us. All you need is the attitude to go out and grab it. Because the reality is the world doesn't care whether you're successful or not. It really doesn't. You know, and I know I could go into your desks or in your offices or your briefcases, and you've got those little booklets of inspiration. If it's to be, it's up to me. It's not what I drive, it's what drives me. You only get out of it what you put into it. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it that makes the difference. They're all true. Every one of those sayings are true, you just have to believe it. I've got one of those four-wheeled racing bikes, the quad sport racing bikes. Unbelievable things, I just have trouble staying on the seat. My friends reckon they're going to stick Velcro to my pants. And I was at a trail ride in New Zealand with a whole group of friends, and it was a really wet day, and I'm sliding my bike around the corner. I'm having such a great time. We came around a corner, there was a bog hole in front of us. It was half the size of this room, trees down either, no way past. I looked back to my mates and said, don't worry about it, guys, I'll go through it first. I hit the bog at great speed, the bike stopped, and I kept going straight out over the handlebars into the mud. But you see, it wasn't that deep. It was only up to here on me. And I got my gumboots, my plastic pants. So I got my plastic pants on, sitting in the mud. And these so-called mates of mine are having a great laugh at my expense. I said, come on, guys, stop mucking around, help me push the bike out, will you? As they started to push the bike out, another group of riders came around the corner. And it was a race between our two groups. But in the spirit of fair play, we said, look, guys, come around here, you get away, no problem at all. Didn't listen to us. Rode their bike just straight into the side, just into the ditch, just the back wheel sticking out of the mud. We said, you Wallies, what did you do that for? We're telling you to come around this path here. They looked at us all as serious as could be. Said, you buggers are having us on. Look how deep it is, we're here's. I leaned like out of the mud and I sat on the side, the look on their faces. We hopped on the bike, took off, come back an hour later and they're still going, I can't believe this. Moral of the story is all is not what it seems in this world, and sometimes opportunities aren't always where we expect them to be. I'm sure that over the last 2 days you have all been given information and opportunities. You've renewed friendships. But the reality is that that's all it ever stays until you do something about it. Because we are in a world where it's so easy to blame other people rather than going out, accepting, creating those challenges and being the best.
And that was our show this evening. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, you can email us for the record at fpc.com.fj. I'm Edwin Nand. Up next is the My Say segment with Nemani Ndalayambatiki. Good evening.